Live in advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. I'm here with Steve Risley. We haven't done this show in a while, Steve.
On hiatus, Mike.
Yeah, it was hiatus. And right now, I want to bring up the fact that the Grueling Truth is powered by betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the online casino or sportsbook that's right for you. So make sure you find the right place to bet with betting.net. All right, Steve, we have a lot of sports news to cover here. We're going to cover Urban Meyer, the Urban Meyer situation, because there's always an Urban Meyer situation. And also, we're going to talk about last night's playoff game, tonight's playoff game. We're going to talk a little Bubba Wallace because I know it's your dream to talk about NASCAR on this show.
I'm going to get my shot at NASCAR and I'm going to blow it.
Yeah, don't blow it because it'll be the last time
Last
we
one.
do
I
the
know.
NASCAR. All right, so we got Urban Meyer has a little situation here. I think he's on thin ice. Saad Khan, the owner of Jacksonville. But if I'm the owner of Jacksonville, don't I kind of have to expect this just with the way Urban Meyer's entire career has went?
Well, if you look at the body of his idiosyncrasies, I would agree with you 100%. But I would hope that the amount of money I'm sure that Urban's getting paid and playing at the high or coaching at the highest level in the sport, that he would have matured and outgrown grinding with young college co-eds or whatever she was. But apparently, that's not the case. The horse seems to always go back to the same bucket to drink out of, doesn't he?
Yeah, and the sad thing about it is if you look up Urban Meyer, he's got 2 books he's written about taking responsibility for your actions and doing the right thing. And this is another college coach. And we talked about it at the start. I think Dan, who will be with us, Dan Kornhauser tonight on the NFL Pick'em Show at 8 o'clock Eastern live on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. He asked me, remember, what I thought of Urban Meyer. I think he's a BS artist, which I think works with college kids who you control their scholarship. With grown men, it doesn't work that well. And the thing that really has to be concerning are the messages coming out of the Jacksonville locker room, how coaches with NFL experience aren't getting along with the coaches that Urban brought in that were assistants, maybe at colleges or head coaches in college. And the players really don't respect Urban. And I don't see how this helps this. In an 0-4, Urban Meyer can't afford this.
Yeah, and it's really funny because as we chose this as a topic to open up with and discuss after our hiatus, I tried to figure out what my stance was going to be, not really knowing your position, but knowing you were not generally always an Urban Meyer fan. So I tried to look at it and say, well, coaching college football is one thing. You need to have accountability. You need to be more of a college atmosphere, a teacher, a father figure. But when you get into the NFL, it's a different world. You're not their babysitter. They're all professionals. They don't hang together. They go off with their own posses, their own families, whatever it be, and do their own thing. And why doesn't the coach have that right to do that as well? However, I think that when your head coach starts pulling shenanigans, as Urban did, and it's a pattern with him of just doing stupid shit all along the way, and then bailing on it for a dumb reason, which I'm sure you've got great examples of those, is his bailout processes. It really leads to a question of his character more than anything. I mean, the guy's won in college football. I think you're going to show us or talk a little bit about how he hasn't probably won fairly.
And no, it's not that he hasn't won fairly. It's the fact that he's a man that preaches every place he goes how he's going to change the culture. And that culture is not
something. But doesn't every coach do that?
Yeah, but you have to. But the problem is this, Urban Meyer does it. And Urban Meyer, after 6 years at both places he was at, got the hell out because he was about to get busted. And he left Florida's program, over a decade ago, and they still haven't recovered. They just now have gotten the right guy to replace him. But the culture in Florida was so bad. There was 46 guys arrested off of the 2008 national championship team. And I don't think it's any coincidence that Urban Meyer had health problems as soon as Tim Tebow was graduating because I don't think that Urban Meyer's ego could handle one or two subpar seasons. And I think that with Urban Meyer, I think what you have is a coach that defines himself by the wins and the losses. He's not there for the players, he's there for his own ego. And when you look at this, they said even when he was losing preseason games, that he was yelling at players, he was going nuts. And I mean, there's no NFL coaching experience at all with Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer got this job because he's Urban Meyer and he did some great things in college. And there's been college coaches that were successful in the NFL, but there's not that many. And it's for a reason. I mean, you're going from coaching grown men to coaching, 18 to 22-year-olds that will believe everything you say because you hold their entire future in their hands.
Right. I know I did at IU when I played there.
Yeah, but the thing is this.
I heard every day that if I didn't wind my P's and Q's and start blocking somebody out, I was going to be playing intramural ball in the Hyper building.
Yeah, but you know what? Bob Knight wasn't going out after a loss to Ohio State and partying. I mean, that's the thing here. I mean, do we ever hear Bill Belichick doing this? Do we ever hear Bruce Arians? I mean, how many head coaches have been caught in a situation like this in the NFL?
Knight, there was some little ice cream shop on the west side of Bloomington that he would always go to post game and have his butterscotch sundae, I think it was, and his Coke or Diet Coke.
Yeah, and I think the other thing was when Urban told the team about this, he canceled a team meeting and went positionally by each position and talked to each team or each section of the team, which I think is an issue because I think right there it shows that he probably wasn't a man enough to stand in front of the entire team and explain this. And from what I was told, because there is a guy there that I know that plays for the Jaguars that used to play for the Bengals, that when he left those positional meetings, the players burst out laughing because, if you're a head coach, you preach to your players, whether it's professionally or college or even high school, to stay out of situations that could get them in trouble. And he basically went into a situation that could get him in trouble, and he did. And people can say, well, it's not that big a deal. It's between him and his wife. But if I want a guy being the leader of my franchise, if I'm Saad Khan, do I want a guy who shows such bad judgment?
Right.
Because bad judgment kills everything, and it kills the culture because now Urban Meyer can't tell Trevor Lawrence, well, make sure you don't go out clubbing because you can get in trouble. Because Trevor's going to look at him and say, you dumbass, you don't even have to tell me because I already watched you do it.
Yeah, so, that's the biggest blow right there, Mike, is what you just said, is that he lost the ability to coach with respect, and that's really how an NFL coach has to coach, or an NBA coach, or an MLB coach. You only coach with respect because you don't coach with fear like a college coach can. As you said earlier, I hold your scholarship, decide your playing time. NFL's a different cat, and he's lost that. And I almost think he's put himself in a position, and, Saad Khan said he's treading on incredibly thin ice right now. In other words, I think if he hiccups wrong, and these Arabs, they have laws and rules. And
Watch it, Steve. Watch it, Steve.
What? No, I don't mean in a negative way. They live a very, rigid lifestyle, and they expect everybody to adhere to it. And that includes their head coach of their investment into that football franchise. So I think right now he's lame duck as far as I think he's lame duck.
How about this? I think
he's done nothing to develop Lawrence. Truthfully, Lawrence's numbers are less than impressive for a kid coming out with the hype he did. And I know it takes time to develop these guys, but I've seen other first-year quarterbacks come out and make a bigger dent. And so far now, he's on a pretty crappy team.
Joe Burrow was on a crappy team last year, too. If you're the first pick in a draft, you're usually on a crappy team.
Yeah, but you're expected to show your stuff. And I think a lot of these teams now, like the Bengals gave Joe Burrow leeway, and he was performing at a high level until he got injured. I'm not seeing that out of Trevor Lawrence. And I throw that on Meyer's shoulder. That's his baby. He coached Tebow.
Well, the
You
perfect
know?
example is in New York, Steve, with the Jets and Sam Darnold. I mean, as soon as Sam Darnold got out of there, now Sam
Yeah,
Darnold
look
looks
at
like
him.
one of the,
Yeah.
yeah, he's one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the NFL, where before he was in the bottom five. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of this, I mean, with these quarterbacks, it's where you go. I think if Patrick Mahomes goes somewhere other than Kansas City, it may not work out too well because he needed to be in a certain situation to fix what his deficiencies were.
Are
Mitch
you
Trubisky, I mean, Mitch Trubisky was another one. He got ruined in Chicago, and I'm afraid with watching the play calling that Matt Nagy's going to ruin Justin Fields also.
yeah. You think Holmes would want to come to Indianapolis?
No, nobody wants to come to Indianapolis, Steve. It's a mess. You get the worst medical staff in the NFL, and I don't think it's any coincidence
Hey,
that
I
almost
know
every
most all
year,
those doctors.
yeah. So you know,
Yeah, I know.
so
I don't know. I mean, I've been worked on by a few of them. They're also IU team physicians, so many of them are.
all right.
Anyway,
Before we
so
move on,
I think Urban Meyer. I think that mistake he made, that film is much bigger than just getting caught grinding with a college. If she is college,
well, you
I
get
don't
the
know.
second picture where he's got a couple fingers where they're not supposed to be either.
Yeah, it's a much bigger incident, and I think Khan's got some decision making to do and got to look at his team about mid-season and say, boy, you don't want to get Trevor Lawrence too far behind the eight ball because it's going to drag you down another full season
Yeah.
if you don't develop him at all. You know, as much as you don't like the Bengals, somebody's done something right with Joe Burrow there because that kid's the bona fide next star quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, but the thing with Joe Burrow is, I think he's a guy that's already built to
Could
succeed no
do it on
matter
his
where
own.
he
Yeah,
goes. Yeah, like
yeah,
Peyton Manning was, or
yeah.
John Elway. Those are guys that just are
Did it on their
special.
own.
Trevor Lawrence is very talented, but there's issues with his feet. There's issues with his release.
Well, and he's not.
So
But those are things that you would expect Urban Meyer to fix.
I wouldn't expect Urban Meyer to, because when you
Well,
look at the history of Urban Meyer, I mean,
yeah,
outside of when he was at Utah and he had Alex Smith, and Alex
right,
Smith was not NFL ready when he got to the NFL. It took a while for Alex Smith to be
right.
successful. But if you look at these quarterbacks at Ohio State, you look at these quarterbacks at Florida, none of those guys worked out in the NFL because he basically ran college style offenses that weren't ready to be played in the NFL. So when I look at this, I think that if I'm Saad Khan, I get rid of his ass right now.
Yeah, I,
I
I
I
think,
don't.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've got somebody on staff that could do it, but there's experienced NFL coaches on staff there. You may. Let's face it. When you get to next year, the job looks pretty good because Trevor Lawrence is there. It looks pretty good because you're in
yeah,
Jacksonville, which is a pretty nice place to
nice
live.
place to live,
So,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
I guess how much damage did Urban Meyer do to Urban Meyer in terms of his ability to effectively lead and coach that team? Like you kind of alluded to, how is he ever going to tell a player don't go partying?
yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
don't.
yeah. I
Nobody's
mean,
going to listen to him anymore.
no,
Period.
he. I don't think he had a lot of credibility to begin with, but all the credibility he had is now gone. All right,
Right.
guys, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about the baseball playoffs. And if you're going to bet the baseball playoffs, go check out betting.net. It's building a community of like minded individuals who can share their experiences in order to create a safe gambling environment for all. And it's not just sports betting. Betting.net is also your gateway to the best online casinos. Sit back and relax and have fun with online slots, poker, or other table games. Make sure you go check out betting.net. Let's move on to the baseball playoffs. Last night, the Boston Red Sox, the New York Yankees, for the fifth time in their history, played a one and done playoff game. And I think what people are missing here is what a great job Cora's done of managing this Red Sox team, because nothing was easy for this team. You had a month-long coronavirus break. You had the return of his exiled manager in Cora, a division lead that was won and lost, even a fluky injury to a key slugger just before the wild card game. So they came out, they won 93 games. They beat the New York Yankees 6-2 last night. And I think we're going to talk about the Dodgers Cardinals in a little bit. I think the Red Sox are fully capable of going on and possibly winning a World Series. I think whoever comes out of the play a wild card game tonight is also. So my question to you is this, Steve: do you like the one game wild card playoff, or do you think it should be best out of three?
I got feelings on both sides about that. Obviously, I don't like it because, as you can see, I live in LA, and we're all Dodger blue out here. So you hate the fact that a team that's put the second best record up in baseball, one game behind the Giants, and was the hottest team in baseball since August 1, has been, could be done tonight, just like the Yankees were. But I think that the anticipation of watching that game tonight is going to be fun as can be, one way or another.
Yeah, it's basically like a Game 7.
Yeah, it's a Game 7, and yeah. So I see the safety of having a best of three, but then how do you logistically do that travel wise? 1-1-1,
Either
or
that or you would just have to give the home field to whoever the number one
that
seed
wouldn't
is.
be fair. It wouldn't be fair to do that. Like, I wouldn't want to play 3 straight games in Fenway Park for a playoff if I didn't have to.
I bet the Yankees would rather do that right now, though.
Yeah. So I thought about this, and my first thoughts on my mouth were, I can't believe they do one game for the Dodgers and the Cards, who are two of the hottest teams in baseball right now. One of them's going to be eliminated, and some team of lesser value might make it through to the playoffs and get beyond them.
Yeah,
but then I turned around and said, this is the best thing in the world for baseball. This is why you get paid the big bucks to play. And, you got to perform every night. And all the cliches in sports are wrapped into the 9 innings that came last night and the 9 innings that are come tonight.
Yeah, and the thing is,
So
for Major League Baseball,
I'm for it.
For Major League Baseball, you really can't get better matchups than the Yankees, Dodgers, and the Cardinals, or the Yankees, Red Sox, and the Dodgers, Cardinals.
He's talking about evenly matched teams.
Well, that historically, and yeah. I mean, I don't think there's too many teams that are evenly matched with the Dodgers, but the Cardinals are a team that a few weeks ago looked dead in the water. They were following. I think they were 3 games behind the Reds for the second wild card, and then they go on one of the greatest runs at the end of a season any team's ever had, as they won 17 straight games. They won 18 of their last 21, and it's win or go home tonight at Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers, who won 106 games during the season, but still weren't able to overtake the San Francisco Giants in the NL West division standings, face the Cardinals, who are 90 and 72. The pitching matchup, I think, is very interesting. We're going to talk a little bit about that because I think that's the biggest thing to any baseball game. And that's Adam Wainwright tonight, 40-year-old pitcher who looked to be on his way out of the league 3 years ago, had one of the best seasons of his career this season, Steve.
Yeah, 17 and 7, 3.05 ERA. Led his staff on a season, a bona fide Cy Young candidate, and really was the star pitcher of that baseball team all season long, and is pitching some of his best baseball right now. Not a guy that the Dodgers really want to face, having just lost their best power hitter, essentially, to a dislocated elbow.
Yeah, Max Muncy.
Max Muncy is out, second to the last game of the season, and replacing him with a 147 hitter with only 10 home runs. Muncy had 34, 35 home runs, 100 RBI, and replacing him with a guy that's hit 10 home runs and 31 RBI. So that's a miss. But the Dodgers have played hurt all year. But back to the pitchers, Wainwright, and he's hot right now. He's pitching well. Scherzer has been the star pitcher. He's a Cy Young candidate for his 4th Cy Young. He's already won 3 of them. He's 15 and 4 with a 2.89 ERA, I think, somewhere right around there. And but he's been roughed up his last 2 outings. Colorado and I think.
I think he's given up 10 runs in his last 17 innings.
10 runs, 17 hits in the last 10 innings. And boy, I hope he's ate his Wheaties tonight and snapped that. Or, we may be watching the Cards play the Giants.
Yeah, but I think the issue here is the middle of the St. Louis Cardinals batting order. And this, to me, Max Scherzer, since he got traded to L.A., has been untouchable except for those last 2 starts. His ERA was well below 2 before those last 2 starts. Yeah. And I don't see the Cardinals scoring a lot of runs here. I think the only way you win this game is if Adam Wainwright pitches a
Yeah.
absolute gem, one of the games of his life. And the thing is this, he's got a lot of playoff experience. So I don't think it's beyond, comprehension that he could. And I'll
Right.
tell you right now, when I look at this, the odds on the Cardinals winning are like plus 225. So I think the Dodgers win this game. I think
They
they'll have a little
should.
bit,
They should. I
don't have
mean,
too much firepower. But if I'm going to bet the game, I think it's a close enough with as hot as the Cardinals are and Wainwright possibly being able to pitch that game that I would almost bet Wainwright just because there's more value in betting that than there is in betting a Dodger team that's like a 2.5-1 favorite.
well, in having watched, actually, I've sat and watched more inning to inning, 9-inning baseball games this year because I've suddenly become a pseudo Dodgers fan now that we live in LA. It's a really fun sport when you actually, I've never lived in a city like you have the Reds where you actually have a team in your own city. And it's been really fun. The Dodgers the Dodgers have plenty of bats left in their lineup. You know, Mookie Betts can jack at any time. Justin Turner's a power hitter. They've got other players on that team that can jack the ball. It's just that I've seen the Dodgers more times than I care to see get shut down by highly effective pitching, and because they like to swing for the fences. And the key here is going to be for the Dodgers bats to take what Wainwright's going to give them, and not try and manufacture long balls, which the Dodgers like to play long balls as much as they possibly can, and they're good at it when they're on. So I think on paper the Dodgers would be the favorite in this game, but man, one game is weird stuff can happen in an inning. And weird
Well, I
stuff
think
happens in all sports in a blink of an eye, and it changes the total outcome of a game. How many times we see Brett Favre make one pass that all of a sudden changes the outcome of a Packers game?
usually if it was in the playoffs, it was for a loss, though. So it
Yeah.
wasn't always good.
Well, I didn't say how.
But I'll tell you, I think this. I'll compare it to this. 1988, Bengals go to the AFC Championship game. I was there to see that. I was there to see the Reds and the Pirates in the NLCS, Reds and A's in the World Series. And I think this. I generally find football more enjoyable to watch. But if
Yeah.
it's your team involved and you've got a horse in the race with baseball, every single pitch you're on the edge of your seat. Something can happen at any second. And I just think that baseball loses it because when you're not a fan of the team, that is kind of not the same thing.
Yeah, I know. Sitting here the last 2 weeks of the season, I can't. I would turn the Dodgers game on. It's on Spectrum Net out here. You get every game live on TV, home and away. And I would, waiting for dinner or something like that, or deciding what we're going to do. And so I didn't feel like watching more news about COVID. I turned the Dodgers game on, and all I kept trying to get after that was, what are the Giants doing? What are the Giants doing? You got so involved in the game. So I agree with you. When you got skin in the game, like having a team in your own city. So for St. Louis and Indianapolis, St. Louis and Los Angeles, you're going to be both teams are going to be on pins and needles for the next 3 hours, starting at about 7:00 LA time. Is it coming on at 10:00 East Coast time?
No, it's 8:00. So it'd be 5
So it's
o'clock.
5:00 here. Okay.
Yeah. You guys
And
can
we
always
have a
get this
football
one.
show at 5:00,
We have a football show at 8:00 tonight, Steve.
which is 5:00 my time.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. That's vicious.
Well, if you want, we can see if Dan can move it up to 7.
No, that's all right. I got a TV here.
All right, but I do want to bring up the NFL Pick'em Show tonight, live at 8:00 on
Yeah.
Facebook. You can pick us up on YouTube, and then you can get the show later on thegruelingtruth.com. Also, I want to remind you,
Mike, do you think any of us hit 500 last week?
I don't think so. I haven't checked yet, Steve. Last week was rough. The week before we were on it, at least me and Dan were. You were 500 then. But
yeah, well,
all right.
I would take 500 and run this week.
All right, I want to remind everybody the Grueling Truth is powered by betting.net. Betting.net finds the best promotion, discounts, and bonus codes so you don't have to. Head over to the website now to take advantage of things like free bets and matching deposits. Betting.net makes it easy to find all of the sport or all of the legal online casinos or sports books in your state. Head over now and see for yourself. All right, Steve, this is the moment of truth. You've asked for this for the 3 years we've done Survive Advance. We are now going to talk NASCAR. So I want to remind everybody that you can check us out tomorrow at 1 o'clock on Survive Advance before you guys hang up, because we're talking NASCAR. But Steve, we got Bubba Wallace finally won a race at Talladega.
Right. And the thing here is, really, you say we're going to talk NASCAR. I don't think that NASCAR is the most important part of this discussion. I mean, a race is a race. I think what's important here is a couple of observations in it. Is that we had an African American, first time in 50 years, win a NASCAR race. Wendell
Scott, 1963.
Wendell Scott, 1963. Yeah. You know that they didn't recognize him as the winner until 2 years after the race, and did not give him the trophy.
Yeah, when he went Buck to Victory Baker Lane, was who originally won that, correct?
Well, they credited Buck Baker, although Wendell won the race. And actually, Wendell did it with a car that he and his brothers built by borrowing parts from other drivers in the garage. Literally, other drivers came up and said, "Hey, here's a drive shaft. Hey, here's a rear end housing. Here's a door panel," and helped Wendell build this car. And he had a fairly decent career, but only one win. And then along comes Bubba Wallace. And I like Bubba Wallace as a driver. He's a feisty guy. He will mix it up with anybody at any time. He's a good driver. He's won in the Truck Series, and he's won in Xfinity. No, I think he's won in Truck. I'm not sure if he's won in Xfinity or not. But the thing here is, the bigger story might be the fact that Michael Jordan is principal owner of this team. And this is the first time that an African American's ever won as an owner, has put a car in and won a NASCAR race. So a lot of firsts there, but I think you need to temper this to a degree when you look at the track that they raced on. And now, there's not a driver in this sport that's a top name driver: Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Dale Earnhardt, Kevin Harvick. I go down the list of all of them that hasn't won a rain shortened race. I mean, that's the way it goes. Once you hit the halfway mark in NASCAR, the race becomes official. And that's exactly what happened. The thing about Talladega is a track where it's such an unknown quantity because of the pack racing they do. On lap 111, Bubba could be in the lead. On lap 113, Bubba's in last place by no fault of his own. So of all the tracks where you'd say that was a lucky win, it would be at Talladega. Now, what I just want to see is for Bubba to back up what he did with a win at Kansas City, at Texas, at Martinsville, at Auto Club Speedway out here in California, somewhere else, to validate the win at Talladega, because any driver will tell you it's an unknown quantity at Talladega. But that being said, it's a historic moment for NASCAR. They certainly lauded it. They took advantage of that opportunity. But if you the more people you can bring into any sport and pack the seats more, the better off it is. And Bubba and Michael certainly did a great job of doing that this weekend. So hats off to Bubba Wallace and Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, who's an owner driver. He drives the FedEx car for Joe Gibbs Racing. Probably a guy who should go coach the Jaguars.
Anybody? Are you talking about Denny Hamlin?
No, well, he might be able to do us good too. I was talking about Joe Gibbs, but I think Joe's had enough of football. But it was a great win, great for the sport, great for Bubba, and great for Michael Jordan. And I was happy to see it. I was happy to see all the drivers that came up to him before they even called the race, because it was still raining and they had not called the race yet. And Bubba's pushing everybody away. Don't jinx me. Don't talk to me. Sure as hell, the sun will come out and they'll drive this track and I'll have to go back racing. He didn't want to go back racing either. So, but that's that track. That's that sport. That's the way it is. And like I said, there's not one driver that's the top named driver who has not won a range shortened race. So,
All right, Steve. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap the show up today? Do you have any
no,
useless knowledge people might want to hear?
any useless knowledge.
Yeah.
No, I already kind of gave up the one about Bob Knight eating Sundays after the game. So there's my useless knowledge of the week.
Bob Knight eating Sundays after the game.
Yeah, he used to love.
Even when y'all lost?
I don't know what he did when we lost. We didn't want to see him when he lost.
Well, hell, halftime you didn't want to see him if you won, did you?
I didn't want to see him at halftime either, usually, because I was going to get yelled at one way or another.
All right, Steve, you want to do this tomorrow at 1 again?
Tomorrow at 1?
Yeah.
What do we got tomorrow at 1?
Well, we got the Dodgers-Cardinals. We could talk about that. We could preview the division series, which will all be ready to go. We could make tomorrow kind of a baseball day.
If that's what you want to do.
If you don't want to, it's fine. But either way, tonight at 8 o'clock, myself, Steve, Dan Kornhauser, Grilling Truth NFL writer, will be on to break down and pick all the games this coming, what do we got, week 5 of the NFL season. So make sure you check us out live tonight at 8 o'clock. And remember, we are powered by betting.net, and betting.net makes it easy to find all the legal online casinos or sportsbooks in your state. Head over now and see for yourself at betting.net. Steve, any final words?
No. Welcome back to Survive in Advance. We hope to start this up now. College basketball's coming on board. NBA's lighting it up again now. NFL's getting into the meat of the
NHL,
season.
Steve.
NHL is coming. I was getting there. As baseball winds down, NASCAR is going to wind down. Thank you for the opportunity to speak NASCAR. I'm sure it was my 1 in a million shot.
No, because you'll get the shot again.
Okay, there you go. But anyway, looking forward to more episodes of Survive in Advance whenever we choose to do them. We will get on a regular schedule and go forward with that and have guests. We hope to have guests and go from there.
All right, guys, you can follow Steve Risley at srisley34 on Twitter. You can follow me at Grilling Truth. Make sure you go give us a like on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube there also, where you can get all of the shows. You can hear us any place podcasts are played, from Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, you name it, we're there. We will see you tonight at 8 o'clock for the NFL Pickup Show. Yes.
You can go to srisley34 on Instagram and see glorious photos of my dogs, my 2 Australian Shepherds, Magic and Enzo.
There you go. So if you want to see Magic and Enzo, go follow Steve Risley on Instagram. So for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grilling Truth, where the legends speak.